Good morning, everybody. Let's see if this works. This is the final one for this week, the 21st of February. Time to do some productive things, or maybe not. We will see. Let's see if the stream starts, and then I'll start rambling at you. Give it another try. Not so far. Interesting. Here we go. Good morning, everybody. Now we do have a stream. I hope it works for you as well. It took a bit longer than I thought here. I pressed start stream, then nothing happened for a while. Good morning. So, how are you guys doing? Hey, Ori. How are you this wonderful Friday morning? I am about halfway through Shadow after coming back from the gym. Not halfway, like a bit further than that, I guess. And then I can come back from the gym and record the video straight and let it render while I jump on a train, if trains go today, because there's supposed to be some strikes somewhere, and go to a concert later today. Somehow I always end up having like really stupid, like tight schedules for these kind of things, even though I've had all week to do something. But is what it is. At least, Shadow Captain is, as I expected, a lot of fun. It just took me a while to kick myself enough to get to the point where I started reading fiction again. But I guess that can't be helped. And yeah. So, like, one of the things that I found so interesting about the whole Revenger trilogy is the way that Reynolds is able to figure out sort of like the core elements of a pirate story, and then just like scrape every the historical connections away from that, and just tell a space story and put in all of those things, including the people getting somehow wounded in some way or another, and then having to have like a leg amputated or something, and it's just like really well done in that regard, and it's fun. Obviously not the leg amputation part, but the whole the way there is always like action. And I think like one really helpful thing that he did that a lot of the pirate books I talked about previously fail doing, like all of them after Treasure Island. Treasure Island is of course also like very very tightly written, fast paced, but also like doesn't meander too much. But like both, all of the others pack all of the pirate things into one novel, and by spreading it out into like a trilogy, Reynolds can like basically have more focused plots in a way that is like, yeah, well, this time around it's hunting that pirate ship and taking it over, and then this plot is about finding this specific treasure or whatever, and this part is about this specific part. So you don't have to cram everything into one novel the way that, in particular, on Stranger Tides and the pirates do. Obviously the pirates do it because it's parodying. The pirates does it because it's parodying the pirate genre at that point, but you know it just makes for a better story. Hey, Apollo, how you doing? And hello, Kat. How are you this wonderful Friday morning? There is, well, certainly they are having situations where they are not eating extremely well, and there's something in one of in the books where one of the characters eats something because otherwise they would be starving, and that leads to some form of condition. It's very different from, scurvy in that people are not losing their teeth or anything of the sorts, but it certainly has an impact. So yeah, you could argue that's a scurvy equivalent. That sounds very good, Kat. That sounds like a really good plan, and I wish you luck with that. After all, climate change is not fair and does impact coffee production, so you might have an easier go at it than you might think. Hello, Britain. How are you? And how far along are you with Guards? And Demitrek has appeared. How far along are you with Memories of Ice now? I mean, if you keep reading, you were already past Kapustan, so I guess you're getting close to Coral then. Also, like, there is a thing in Memories of Ice relatively, at that point, I think somewhere between Coral and Kapustan, I think especially with somewhere when like one of the groups is getting closer to Coral, there's a scene where they find a corpse that has been dropped out of a sea warren, and that's a really really clever sort of like sort of reference to events in Midnight Tides that are happening at the same time in Midnight Tides. So something that you obviously don't notice on the first reading, but you might want to look out for that one in Memories of Ice, and then recognize that it is actually something that is described in Midnight Tides, which sort of takes place at the same time, at least roughly. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're doing all right, and I'm sorry you felt down before jumping on here. I hope things are looking up again. I Yeah, I honestly hope so. I mean, mornings are always a bit tough for me, but like evenings might be for you. Well, to be fair, Apollo, those are pretty big plans, and the week has certainly been a week. Cool. I hope the jamming went well and you had fun jamming some cool jazz. Oh, right. I was wondering about that because you said you wanted to take the break this week, and then obviously you made videos this week. So I'm like, has he decided not to take the break, or what is going on there? So you are taking a break now. Well, I hope it allows you to refocus, get your energy back, and get all of those things get back to like a better, more energized, whatever you want to call it, a better state of mind, I guess. Um, I sure know how that feels. Like I've had weeks or like a couple of weeks where I just didn't feel like recording anything and then stayed away from BookTube as well. So I totally get that. So I hope that week will be cool for you and you get like everything else back under control, or just refocus and all of that. Yeah, I'm gonna do the shadow captain thing today, and then hopefully get the bone silence video recorded by Sunday. Sunday would be good for that. Also, drinking rum before going to vote sounds like the reasonable choice, or at least one way of getting through that that ordeal. So maybe. Also, Bone Silence is a bit longer than both Shadow Captain and Revenger, so I guess I need a bit more time to reread that book. So we'll see. So that's roughly the plan. During sprints, I get to finish that letter to the mayor. I wrote most of it yesterday, but I want to have like a look over it and add and play at the diplomacy thing, and then I'm gonna send it off to friends and see what they think, and then we can proceed from there. Hey Chantel, how are you? And yes, this sounds awesome. I hope you enjoy the book. I really did. So I'm always excited to learn that other people read it, and I hope more people enjoy it. So yeah, that's the plan. Finish the thing for the mayor, and ideally start some other productive things. Yeah, uh, you know, just also I guess I have like to read a couple of emails and messages and stuff like that, and we'll see if that leads to more things having to be done and all of that. But finishing the thing to the for the mayor is the number one priority for the first sprint today for me. One of the things I found really interesting is like the fact that I always start these sprints at the same time is really interesting because right now, with the days getting longer again out here in the northern hemisphere, I guess one of the things that's fascinating to me is that I can notice really clearly how the day is getting longer. Not maybe from by day, but like week by week. I'm like, oh wow, there is actual daylight out there already. It's not exactly the sun up yet, but when I started streaming at 8 a.m. in December or in January, it was completely fully dark, and now it's already sort of like daylight-ish. So that's really interesting. Chantel, yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, like I personally really enjoy Pratchett's style of writing, but I can understand how that is something that can be difficult. Like because it is a very sort of unique style of writing, the constant sort of like breaking of the fourth wall, the constant sort of like breaking of immersion by having all these references in there and all that. I can understand how that is how that takes sort of like a shift of mind in a way to enjoy. And there are certainly some Terry Pratchett books where that is easier to do than others. But I can see that it's the same thing with like say Douglas Adams, right? Although I think it's easier with Douglas Adams because of the Hitchhiker's Guide being sort of set starting at least in our world, the references to contemporary media, politics, none of that don't feel as jarring in the beginning, and then it's so clearly absurdist that it doesn't matter as much. Whereas Discworld does still have like a very sort of like has a fantasy plot that's going on and that is sort of like referenced that way. It works really well for me, but I can see how that can be not everyone's thing, right? Nice. That sounds cool that you got to, actually play a lot and do some solos and so forth. And I'm glad you enjoyed God's Guard. It is a very fun book, I think, in a lot of ways. It does really fun bits and pieces, and like the overall plot is pretty cool. Also, it has a lot of librarian action, and the librarian is obviously one of the coolest characters in the entire Discworld series. So that's good. Yeah, um, I think that maybe I don't know about the thesaurus part. I think partly that's yeah, true. But then again, like maybe that's something another reason why it doesn't matter for me that much. Is like right, like I like pretentious writing, to put it, bluntly. Like I enjoy my China Miéville, and he's certainly, using lots of words, and I enjoy Thomas Pynchon's writing, and at that point, Terry Pratchett doesn't come across as too, too voluble, I guess is the word here. So yeah. Now that must be jarring shifts in tone there, Britain jumping between Underground Railroad and and Terry Pratchett. Apollo, I did read Living a Feminist Life by Sarah Ahmed yesterday, but I am today working on Shadow Captain by Alistair Reynolds because, if I get the temporary tooth replacement on Tuesday, I need to be done with the Revenger series by then, if I want to finish the Pirate series of videos. So I am prioritizing Shadow Captain and Bone Silence for now, and then I'll be back probably with like some other nonfiction stuff there. I have not read the Techno Feudalism one yet, but it's certainly something I'm interested in. So yeah. All right. Speaking about feudalism, I need to write up that petition to our local lord and mayor, and so let's do the sprints, and I'll be back in 45-ish minutes, and we'll talk some more about whatever else comes up by then. And I am back. How did we all do? I assume we all did marvelously well. All right. I see you had a bit of a conversation while I was gone. That is good. Yeah, I can see how that can turn you off pretentious writing, Chantel. I personally still, I don't know. It's just the way I am. I enjoy pretentious writing in all kinds of ways, but then I still read. I don't know. Post-structuralist theory out of interest. So I guess it's kind of built in at that point, and I have like no choice and no excuse either. Well, that's the kind of decisions I would not be able to make, Kat. And I see you have already decided to make coffee at home. Yeah, impatience, I think, is sometimes a virtue. Also saves you money, I guess. Yeah, sorry about the blanket, Chantel. That sucks. But I mean, if you get the return thing, if you get it returned, then at least that. Nice. How far into the 10 Very Big Book podcast are you at this point? Are you just like listening along to where you are reading reading wise? So you're like listening to the Memories of Ice episode, or where are you at the moment with the podcast? Python. Yeah. I've used that. I did not really enjoy it that much, but there are worse languages, I'm sure. So yeah, I did some messages, some stuff like that, and started looking over the letter to the mayor, and then got distracted by life and all of that. So it will have to be done during the next sprint, and I have no excuses. I mean, I rarely have excuse. I mean, I rarely have good excuses. Let me put it this way. So we'll see how that works, but I'll do my best to actually, get the whole thing out of the way, and I can, then return to all the other things that I want to do. And of course, the things I should do, which are unfortunately rarely the same thing, but that's life under capitalism, I guess. That sounds complicated. I mean, obviously, writing data pipelines not necessarily, but the whole bioscience thing. But I guess like as the coder, you don't actually have to understand what the scientists are doing. Just make sure that the data goes where it has to go, right? So yeah. So my goal is to finish Shadow Captain at the gym, so I can record the video when I get home. Ideally, if I am quick with the thing for the mayor, I can already start taking notes on the upcoming, on the Shadow Captain video, make some notes on like which points to talk about, which is usually the biggest challenge there. And then at least it's not raining outside, so I guess I can record on the balcony without, weather problems. Yeah, no, it's what's his name, Peter or whatever is the guy who has read it before, and yeah, I just I don't listen to that many podcasts. I don't even know why. It's more like so I know of the 10 Very Big Books guys, but I then kind of stopped paying attention. Yeah, I mean that makes sense for your full-on trip then, Chantel. So in this case, well, maybe sometimes timing does work out. Yeah, I I mean I sometimes think that starting fantasy with Malazan is of can be a better way than reading a lot of like traditional like fantasy and then trying Malazan and going like, wait, this is not what I expected it to be, right? Because it uses more like literary fiction stuff and all of that, and it's like if you've grown up on Wheel of Time and Stormlight and all of that, and then switching to Malazan can be much more of a shock than if whatever you've read before is just not even close to like the the forms of fantasy that are most people are used to, I guess. I have not listened to much of El Sabo Soup either because it's been a while since I last read my Gene Wolfe, so it's more like something I should probably do again. I mean, they are really, really good when it comes to the Gene Wolfe stuff. I mean, I when it comes to podcasts, I listen to the Well, There's Your Problem podcast about engineering disasters, and yeah, so it's very very far away from like books, but it's fun. It's all about plane crashes and shipwrecks and bridges collapsing and buildings burning and all of that stuff. So all very much fun and games, and yeah. But sometimes I feel it's probably like a mistake from my on my part that I don't listen to like a lot of like book podcasts. I've listened to some of the Code Street stuff that Jonathan Strahan is doing with Gary Wolfe. That's always interesting. But I'm not like a very so like regular listener. Like it's not something I go like, oh, new episode. It's more like, oh, this is one that I find interesting, so I'm gonna listen to that, and then I'm gonna dip out again and maybe come back in a couple of weeks with another one or something like that. Yeah, what Apollo said. It's bad timing, but still could have been worse, I guess. Speaking of cold, I haven't checked how cold it is out there. Was more sun yesterday, so I assume it's colder today. Who knows? Yeah. So let's hope I can actually get the whole thing figured out. time-wise today. It's a fairly tight schedule that I've built for myself there, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Sometimes I feel I'm better at getting stuff done if I have like a very tight schedule compared to when I have basically no time pressure whatsoever. But it does mean that I have to. So if I go to the gym and I come back in time, I come back around 1 p.m. and I need to take a bus at 2:30 p.m., which means I have 90 minutes to record a video, start the rendering process, take a shower, get back down, and possibly even eat something in between because it might be smart to eat something while I'm at it. Who knows? So that's kind of the plan there. We'll see if I can manage that all in all. I don't necessarily disagree with you there. Gene Wolfe does have a very unique and very interesting prose style and very flowery. And if you think Terry Pratchett is using too much of a thesaurus, Gene Wolfe was like a whole other level because he uses like a thesaurus for like three languages at the same time, at least three. Like New Sun does have like Greek words in there and Latin words in there and some German words in there for good measure. It's certainly a trip. So that'll be a lot of fun to reread, and that's like one of those things, right? Like Book of the New Sun is some one of those series. I mean, on the one hand, it's relatively short as epic fantasy, sci-fi, whatever books go, but it's also one that like just really, really repays rereading every couple of years because there's so much stuff happening there that I only noticed on like the fourth read or on the fifth read, and I'm like, oh fuck, I completely didn't notice this part, and then you go back like a year later or 2 years later and go like, wait, how did I miss this other part that was even more important? And it's certainly impressive on like how much sort of like how many layers you can pack into one book. So certainly something that will happen soon again. All right, so shall we proceed to sprint slowly towards the end of this? And I will do that. And yeah, obviously no sprints tomorrow, but tomorrow evening will be like a the officially monthly live stream. Although it's the third in this month, so we will see. But I'll be live at tomorrow evening. In the case some of you have nothing better to do on a Saturday night. We'll see how wrecked I am after the concert trip thing, but I'll do my best. I'll probably just buy some energy drinks for good measure, though. So yeah, see you shortly before the top of the hour then. And I am back, and I did finish the letter, so there's that. I guess that's a good thing, right? I hope you got to your bus in time, Apollo. That would be helpful, I guess. Good night, Chantel. I assume you're already asleep, or at least I hope so. I have not yet read the Latro books, but I want to, and they have been on my phone for a long time. I just never got around to reading them. Thought about reading them and making videos while I'm in Athens, because you can film outside with like the Parthenon in the background or something, but then I didn't. And I doubt I still have time to do that before I fly to Athens in 2 weeks. Or in like a week and a half, something like that. Holy shit. I am about to go to the gym, I guess, or I'll stay here. I need to double check some stuff before I go to that concert. And since I'm still somewhat under the weather, like with like the last ends of that cold, it might be smart to not go to the gym and give my body a bit more rest and just read the book, finish Shadow Captain, and record the video. That's sort of like what I need to figure out right now. And after that, yeah, decide which way to go. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, and you too a good night. Now that you are also deciding to go to bed. Everyone else, have a good day. I hope to live stream tomorrow evening if you have nothing better to do, and possibly a video about space pirate girls in sometime later today. Who knows? It may happen.